as we've been looking at climates, similar climates around the world are what we call biomes. So a biome is simply an area that has a similar climate and a similar ecosystem. So let's remember that climates are made up of two things. Let me change the color of my pen. Okay, so climates are made up of your temperature and your precipitation. If you remember, that's what we talked about, the Köppen climate classification system was made up of, and that's what you're graphing when you look at climatograms. So biomes are going to be areas that have a similar temperature and a similar amount of precipitation, but they also have similar ecosystems. So there are two things that make up an ecosystem, and that is the type of plants and the type of animals that live there. So when you look at your biomes, they're going to have four things in common: temperature, precipitation amounts, the similar types of plants, not the exact same, but similar types, and then also similar types of animals. So that's what the four things we're looking at when we look at your climate and your ecosystem. So there are a few different biomes. There are six common ones: the tundra, taiga, temperate deciduous forest, tropical rainforest, and your grassland. Your grassland has three different names: a prairie, savanna, and a charpel, and then also your deserts. So I'm just going to flip through a couple of the biomes very quickly and just tell you a few key aspects of them, and just show you a couple pictures. So this is just showing you where your different biomes are. The purple is all of the tundra, the red is all of the taiga, yellow grassland, dark green is your tropical rainforest, and so on. So as you can see, these similar biomes with similar temperature, precipitation, plants, and animals, they are all over the world and separate from one another. So they're spread out everywhere. Your first one is your tundra. This is found in parts of Canada, Alaska, and Siberia. It's known as a cold desert. And so as you can see from these two pictures, they're very, very dry. There's not a lot of moisture there, so that's why it's called the cold desert. They have more evaporation than they do precipitation, and they are treeless because the ground is so frozen, tree roots can't go deep into the ground. The tundra is also known as an area that has perpetual night, and this is a big deal to know. So their winter can last up to 6 to 9 months, and they can also have no daylight during that time. So imagine going half of the year and it being nighttime the entire time, and then about half of the year where it's daytime all the time, but always very, very cold. We call this perpetual night because it goes on for so long. If you remember back to seasons, the reason this happens is because areas in the tundra are so far towards either pole that when the earth is tilted towards or away from the sun, it doesn't go in and out of that little night bubble or the shadow. And if you forgot about that, you can go back to the Unit 2 videos to look at those demonstrations. Whoops. Okay. So these are some plants. You got reindeer moss, lichen, and grass. So the reindeer moss, as you can see up here, it kind of looks like little antlers. They've got a lot of lichen. If you've ever seen white stuff on trees, kind of looks like white tree bark, that's what we call lichen. It's kind of like a moss. But these are the types of plants they typically have. They have a lot of biting insects like your mosquitoes and the black fly. You have the snowy owl, so any Harry Potter fans, kind of like Hedwig. They have Arctic hares and your reindeer. That's where Santa lives. And you've got these musk oxen, which are kind of cool looking creatures. And that is all for the tundra. So then we have the taiga. Taiga is also known as your coniferous forest. And when we talk about coniferous forest, you're talking about anything that is a cone-bearing tree. So they have a lot of cones, and like your pine cones. So it's the largest biome. It's still going to be very cold, but they do have more precipitation than your tundra does. The type of plants are going to be like your fir trees, your spruces, hemlocks, like I said, cone-bearing trees. They also have liverwort, which is a type of moss. Kind of looks like those little green peppermints that you can get from restaurants. And some of your animals, moose, black bear, wolf, wolverine, badgers, things like that. So then we have our temperate deciduous forest. Now, temperate is in the temperate zone of the earth. And if you remember us talking about the temperate zone, that's areas on the earth that have all 4 seasons. So aka where we live. We live in a temperate deciduous forest. Deciduous just means it's a type of tree that loses its leaves. So all the trees in the fall that shed their leaves, those are called deciduous trees. And so that's the main type of plant in this zone. We have moderate seasons and moderate precipitation. All of the trees that lose their leaves, we have more than just that, but that's the main type of tree. We have a lot of good soil for a wide variety of plants, and so you should all be familiar with these plants, seeing as this is where we live. And same with the animals. We've got a lot of amphibians and mammals, small reptiles. You got the birds, the bear, cardinal. That's our state bird, in case you didn't know. You've got these cute little squirrels and cute little raccoon and a humpback frog. Okay, and so then we have our tropical rainforest. The tropical rainforest is found in the tropical zone, meaning it's going to be warm year-round. It also is going to have a lot of precipitation. So it's going to be humid. The tropical rainforest is one of the most biodiverse areas in the entire world, meaning their ecosystem has a lot of different types of trees and animals. So I can't give you examples of not even a little bit of them, but there's something called the mahogany tree, which is an extremely tall tree. And if you look at the roots here, you can see that they actually have to go up above ground just to help support the tree. Tons of different plants that, we've never even seen before. They're going to have plants and animals that are hard to even imagine. And here we just got a couple examples. You got the toucan and sloth, a monkey, and then you have a huge snake that really creeped me out. You've got different types of pigs, and you got your leopard, your bats, tiger. And these are some videos where you can watch about the tropical rainforest. I will post a couple of links on the PowerPoint on Canvas. So if you want to take some virtual tours through some of these biomes, like the tundra, I won't do one of the temperate deciduous forests or the rainforest, then you're welcome to look at that. There's some really cool things. There's also some extremely cool documentaries on Netflix. I know you're probably rolling your eyes at that. But some of the Planet Earth stuff is extremely interesting if you wanted to take a look at that. Then we have our grassland. These are the prairies of the world, and also known as the bread basket. Goodness, I can't talk. They're found on every continent. They're called the bread basket because they have really good soil for growing plants. So that's where we grow a lot of our wheat and rye and things like that. So in the U.S., we call them a prairie or the plain. You may think like Little House on the Prairie. That's where it would have been located. In Asia, same thing, but they call them a steppe. In Africa, we call them a savanna. So they have a wet season followed by drought, but very fertile soil. Here's just some pictures they're all grasslands, but of the steppe, savanna, and prairie. And you can see they don't look the exact same, but they do look similar. Because again, biomes have similar amounts of precipitation, similar temperatures, and then similar types of plants and animals. These are a lot of the plants, your corn, wheat, and rye, like I was telling you about earlier. A lot of the animals are going to be the animals that graze or like to sit outside, like your prairie dogs, buffalo, and your coyotes. And then we have our desert. Deserts are also found on every single continent. They are extremely dry, the driest of all the biomes. They have extreme temperatures, so they get very, very hot in the day and then very cold at night. And that's because, remember, land changes temperature quickly. There's no water in your desert, so there's nothing to help moderate out those temperatures. So it goes from drastic highs to drastic lows. Their soil is going to have a very large texture, such as sand and gravel, which means it has very little nutrients in it. And so you're going to have a lot of cactus, and you have some Joshua trees. Here's some of your animals. So you've got your tarantula, you've got camels, you've got lots of different lizards, scorpions, the kangaroo rat, that's my favorite with the long tail, and a lot of predatory birds that go around and hunt for small little animals to get. And that is all for your biomes. And again, I'm going to post a couple videos so you can take some virtual tours. I know that was very quick, but the biggest thing to know or to be familiar with is what the biome is, similar plant or ecosystems and climates. And then just be a little bit familiar with the names, knowing that the biggest ones to know, tundra is extremely cold. Temperate deciduous forest is where we live. Tropical rainforest is very diverse. and then kind of knowing the temperature, but you should already know that because we know tropical is warm, rainforest has a lot of precipitation, and then desert, because we already talked about that in Köppen's climate classification system, where evaporation is going to be greater than the amount of precipitation. So those are really the biggest things to know about this. So I know I went through it fast, but I believe in you, and I do hope you take advantage of some of these videos or Netflix documentaries, which are probably better than the videos that I will share with you. But that is it for this video.